Hello Klasse 9. This week's work is basically all of section 3 in your booklet. We've started it already. The first thing that you should hopefully have done already is go onto Quizlet and practice all the vocab that you can see on the screen in front of you. Just a reminder, there is no vocab test this week, okay? And this vocab won't be coming up in your vocab test. It's just going to help you when you're doing your tasks and so on later on. So the first task, A, we've actually done already, so you don't need to worry about that right now. If you were away last lesson and you haven't completed this, could you please do this for next lesson? Same with task B, so that should also already have been completed.
Kapitel 3 Einheit 3
Er ist lustig. Seite 42.
Aufgabe 1
Hör zu. Was passt zusammen?
1,
Wie bist du, Amelie?
Ich bin kreativ.
2,
Wie bist du, Tobias?
Ich bin sportlich.
3,
Wie bist du, Mareike?
Ich bin lustig.
4,
Wie bist du, Felix?
Ich bin freundlich.
5,
Wie bist du, Sarah?
Ich bin intelligent.
6,
Wie bist du, Christian?
Ich bin musikalisch.
7,
Wie bist du, Hannah?
Ich bin unpünktlich.
8,
Wie bist du, Wolfgang?
Ich bin schüchtern.
9,
Wie bist du, Thomas?
Ich bin launisch.
10,
Wie bist du, Leon?
Ich bin faul.
11,
Wie bist du, Petra?
Ich bin laut.
Kapitel 3 Einheit 3
Er ist lustig. Seite 42.
Aufgabe 1
Hör zu. Was passt zusammen?
1,
Wie bist du, Amelie?
Ich bin kreativ.
2,
Wie bist du, Tobias?
Ich bin sportlich.
3,
Wie bist du, Mareike?
Ich bin lustig.
4,
Wie bist du, Felix?
Ich bin freundlich.
5,
Wie bist du, Sarah?
Ich bin intelligent.
6,
Wie bist du, Christian?
Ich bin musikalisch.
7,
Wie bist du, Hannah?
Ich bin unpünktlich.
8,
Wie bist du, Wolfgang?
Ich bin schüchtern.
9,
Wie bist du, Thomas?
Ich bin launisch.
10,
Wie bist du, Leon?
Ich bin faul.
11,
Wie bist du, Petra?
Ich bin laut.
Task D is also listening. You'll hear it twice as well.
Seite 42, Aufgabe 3.
Hör zu und lies. Wie heißen die Lehrer?
Frau Schütte ist freundlich, aber sie ist launisch. Herr Arendt ist kreativ, aber er ist unpünktlich. Frau Schmidt ist intelligent und musikalisch. Sie ist auch schüchtern. Wie ist Herr Heumann? Er ist laut und lustig.
And a second time. No. Whoops. I've given you an answer there again. Hear it a second time now.
Seite 42, Aufgabe 3.
Hör zu und lies. Wie heißen die Lehrer?
Frau Schütte ist freundlich, aber sie ist launisch. Herr Arendt ist kreativ, aber er ist unpünktlich. Frau Schmidt ist intelligent und musikalisch. Sie ist auch schüchtern. Wie ist Herr Heumann? Er ist laut und lustig.
So now we'll go through the answers. Herr Arendt was described as being creative and also late or unpunctual or not punctual. Frau Schmidt was described as being intelligent and also shy and also musical, although musical actually was said before shy. Herr Heumann was described as being loud and funny. Task E is a reading task. It's at the top of page 21 in your booklet. I've got some vocab here that I think you might want some help with. If there's any other words that you don't know, my advice is to either look them up on pons.de or you could look back in your booklet because a lot of this is topic vocab. Alright then, so geschieden is the first. I know you have been given it. It is part of your topic of this sort of section of it really. Geschieden actually means divorced. The next word is, or two words even, manchmal schwierig, sometimes difficult. They should also be in your topic vocab. Then we've got weit weg von mir, 4 words, they actually all mean together, far away from me. That's a literal translation, so each word means each of those. Neue, as in neue Freunde, neue means new, or neu is the actual word for new, N-E-U. Schlafzimmer, ein Schlafzimmer is a bedroom. Mein Tagebuch, a tag is a day and a Buch is a book, a day book, but we'd call it a diary, or my diary, because it's mein Tagebuch. Gelesen, this is actually a past tense sentence. So lesen is the verb to read. Einsam, ein means one, so that might give you an indication. It actually means lonely. And so viel is so much, or it can also mean as much actually. The first part of the task then is to work out who is saying what. Nummer 1, says, ich suche neue Freunde. Suche means to look for. So I'm looking for new friends. 2, meine Geschwister sind nervig. You should hopefully know what that means because you've got all the vocab there in your booklet. 3, ich möchte ein Geschwister. Don't forget, Geschwister even doesn't mean sister. It actually means sibling. Nummer 4, es gibt, there are, Probleme, 2 Häuser zu haben. So it's ein Haus und 2 Häuser. One house, 2 houses. So 2 Häuser is 2 houses. 5, mein Vater und meine Mutter wohnen nicht zusammen. You've got there, zusammen is given to you up there as well. Und keiner hat Respekt für mein Privatleben. Keiner is nobody. And Privatleben, a Leben is life, privat, private. So Privatleben, private life. If you could pause this now, I'm going to go through the answers in just a second. So the answer then for Nummer 1 was actually Lara. Nummer 2, the answer was Jens. Nummer 3, it was Katja who said that. Nummer 4, Oscar. Nummer 5 war auch Oscar. And Nummer 6 was Jens. Task F is using the reading text from Task E. So there are 4 underlined texts there from the 4 different speech bubbles. The first one says am Wochenende, and that actually means on the weekend. That's the phrase to say on the weekend. The next one you've been given is Ich vermisse sie, which is I miss her. The one in the third box said meine Schwester und mein Bruder gehen mir auf die Nerven. My sister and my brother get on my nerves. And the last one, ich finde es einsam, I find it lonely. So that's all of task F done. Task G, oh, I seem to have got rid of task H as well. Task G, we're going to have to skip through, I'm afraid, because the audio is going to need to be played in school instead, so I'm sorry about that. So we'll do that when you come back next week. Task H at the top of page 22 is just to make a list of some adjectives that you think are useful, positive adjectives and negative adjectives. So you can choose any adjectives that you want there, okay, and just write them in. Single words are fine, but make sure you write them in German. You may as well use the vocab that you've got, so all the vocab that's given to you on page 19, but if you want to look up a new adjective, then by all means use puns as well. That is probably what will take you up to the end of our first hour that we've missed this week. The second hour is going to be spent doing a writing task, and that's actually what's on your screen right now. So it's task I. This task does need to be quite lengthy, and it probably is going to take you about an hour with planning it and checking it and so on. So the task is to describe a family. It can be your family or you can make it up. You know, it could even be a celebrity family if you want to. You can include the number of siblings in this family, maybe each person's age, appearance, and their personality. So you're going to want to use all of the vocab that we've either revised this year or that we've just learnt. You can also include information on pets, because we have done that and it's kind of handy to throw that in as well. Try to describe the relationships between family members, so how well each person gets on. You've got that vocab in your booklet. And also use the table that's given to you here on the screen to help you plan the content. So I really do want you to plan this. Don't just launch straight into it and then finish it really quickly. I want you to think about what you're going to be including here, because that is important when we look at later on, when we look at, you know, the mark scheme for the exam and so on. It does need to be well planned. I've given here kind of like a rough gauge really of what grade, you know, or what each grade requires for writing in German. Now, there are some things here that we've only done in kind of limited sections, or we've maybe had some things that you might not be totally confident on. Don't worry about that now. Obviously, we're at the start of year 9, so we've got quite a bit of time to go for GCSE. I'm going to look at the A star grade section, because you obviously all want to be aiming for A stars. To get an A star, you need to be writing 2 detailed paragraphs. So they need to be really quite lengthy, and there needs to be a lot of detail in there. So you should all be able to do that. Also, it says here structures like weil, da, obwohl, and so on are used frequently. Now, this is something that we haven't been through together as a class officially. It was in one of the videos that I uploaded last year, so if you were watching it then you may want to try and do this. Okay, I'm going to just give a brief description of what that means right now, and if you feel like you want to include it, then great. If not, don't worry, this won't affect the grade that I'm going to give you for this task. Okay, so just quickly then, the word weil means because, and da means since, which is like another way of saying because, and obwohl means although. And those 3 words all do something a bit strange in German. They actually send the verb after it to the end of the sentence. So I've shown this to you recently in a couple of Neopod lessons, and so some of you may want to try and include that, but that isn't the most detailed explanation that I could have given you. So if you don't, then that's fine. So yeah, it's there if you want to try it. The next thing that you should be including is intensifiers. So I'll give you some examples of that in a second, okay? As well as that, the past tense would be really handy if you could use that as well. A lot of you used it in your paragraph about the pet survey. Lots of starter phrases as well, which you actually have at the start of your booklet. I've got a feeling it's on pages 3 and 4 in your booklet. So there is a couple of sections there with sentence starters and more as well. So try and use as many of those as you possibly can. As well as that, we've got the conditional tense, which is like saying things like I would like. That's pretty much the only conditional structure we've used so far. So you're going to have to stick to I would like for the conditional tense. And also, if you want to get an A star, this needs to be written quite correctly. So there need to be very few errors. I need to see that all of the main sentence patterns and everything else, they need to be correct. Okay, so some examples then for you. Intensifiers, there's some on the screen there. Sehr means very, that's a really handy one to use. Ziemlich is quite. Unglaublich is unbelievably. And äußerst is extremely. As well as those 4 intensifiers, you could use time phrases. So for example, you could say, meine Schwester ist immer launisch. My sister is always moody, aber nie schüchtern, but never shy, and so on. So use time phrases if you can. It is a really good way of extending your work. The past tense then, the one that's just come up there to the left, used to have is hatte, so I used to have, ich hatte. You could talk about other people and maybe, I don't know, how long their hair was and so on, or pets that people may have had previously. That would be great to use there as well. Used to be is war, so that could be ich war, so I used to be, or it could even be war or sie war, he used to be, or she used to be. So you could talk about people being tall or short or fat or thin or so on. And even actually you could use personality adjectives. So you could say, my brother used to be boring. Mein Bruder war langweilig. Okay. You could also talk about where people used to live if you want to. That's another way of using the past tense. We did that last year at the start of year 8. Ich wohnte or wohnte. I used to live or he used to live. So that's a really great thing, or great way to include the past tense as well. The conditional tense, we pretty much got would like is the only real one that you can use here. So möchte. So if you're talking about your own family, you could talk about maybe if you would like to have a different sibling, I would like a brother or I would like a sister. You could talk about pets that you would like. You could talk about things that your siblings would like as well. So maybe your brother would like to have a dog. So mein Bruder möchte einen Hund, and so on. So this will take you probably for the second hour that we would have been seeing each other this week. This will take you all of that time, okay? And it needs to be done in your green books, and I'm going to be taking it in to mark when I see you in the next week. I'm quite looking forward to marking it. So if you want to look up any new words, then go on to pons.de. Don't use Google Translate. Like, really, don't use it. Don't even use it for single words if you can avoid it, because I'm sure the temptation will be there just to look up some longer sentences or phrases, okay? I really want to see that you're using the work in your booklet and that you're trying things for yourself. Google Translate, I'll probably be able to tell, and it just, chances are it won't sound that German, okay? Okay, danke Leute.